Pandemic Express is an upcoming game published by Tiny Build that's built on a certain mod, combining it with Battle Royale. They were kind enough to give me a press kit to check things out, and what you're seeing is going to be basically early access play of it. So what you see may not represent the current version. But with that said, unfortunately, what I see so far, I'm not really enjoying it. The general concept is you have 30 players in the beginning. When the game starts, one player becomes a zombie, whose job it is to then infect by killing the other 29 players. When you're killed, you turn to a zombie and you have to help essentially the zombie team. The survivor's goal is to reach a train or some kind of moving vehicle and hold it until you get to the escape, while fending off your former friends. It's a great idea for a game, but what's in Pandemic Express just doesn't really work, I think, all that well, at least in this current iteration of the game. The map itself is fixed, but gear will randomly show up, and the gear right now is just simply in terms of guns. You can find guns of varying qualities, pistols, shotguns, sniper rifles, so on and so forth. And you can also double jump for some inexplicable reason. I like the aesthetics of the game. It has a very stylized look, especially with the characters and zombies in it right now. Now, as you play, again, you're all trying to reach the same fixed point, and that's the train that we're about to reach. And then it's just simply a kind of a King of the Hill style game, but with one player or one group becoming smaller and smaller. Now, in the footage you're seeing, I made the mistake in the early play of not picking up any weapons. While you can punch, it is pretty much useless. You can't really do anything with it. And I'm going to probably get killed in the next second or so. And then once that happens, you then switch teams, and it's a permanent switch for the remainder of the map. As a zombie, you do not pick up any weapons, but you will spawn in endlessly every time you are killed. If you play long enough or well enough, you unlock specific perks, and the perks basically give you a zombie variant for your next play. Could be an invisible one, or one that's a kamikaze that does massive damage when he dies. And this is where things get very exciting, at least for what's in Pandemic Express right now, when everybody's on the train, and it becomes this kind of defend the point kind of situation. If you look at the top of the screen, you can kind of see the progress bar in terms of how far you need to go for the train for the humans to win, or the survivors. And it's kind of interesting along those lines, but for what's in the game right now, I just don't see the legs in terms of this experience. And it also means there's not a lot for me to discuss right here. So we're going to take a quick Patreon supporter and sponsor break. And I'm going to show off some of the footage of when I probably did my best at the game and talk about some of the balancing issues that are in this version of it. And now a quick thank you to our Patreon backers, as well as to the current Game Wisdom sponsors. And if you'd like to continue the discussion on game design, be sure to check out our Discord channel, link down below. Pandemic Express has a lot of moving parts that work individually, but from what I've seen, they're just not coming together in a cohesive whole. The footage that you're watching right now is probably my best run as a human, or as a survivor, getting a high quality gun here. But the problem with Pandemic Express is that I think it has the same issues for me that the Battle Royale genre has shown, and that is there's just no stakes to playing this game. The thing about switching over to the zombies is that once you die, that's it. Like, all the progress that you made as a human just goes away. And I know that's kind of the point, but it makes the stakes very low scale for this kind of game, because I know that the second I die, well then what was the point of doing it? And as the zombies, that it's just a matter of overwhelming force. Like, there's no real greater strategy. The game does have voice chat, which is nice, but again, it just kind of felt like everyone was doing like random things and it was still working. Now, surviving on the moving train, right here, like this kind of last stand situation, this was my favorite part of the game, and it really harkens back to some of my favorite modes in Left 4 Dead, or favorite plays. But the problem is that the second I die, that goes away, but I'm still stuck in the match. And there you go, you kind of saw like an invisible guy right there. What I would have loved to have seen is, instead of it being more of a Battle Royale style, maybe take an elevated form of the Left 4 Dead co-op, or I'm sorry, not Left 4 Dead co-op, Left 4 Dead Versus mode, and really elevate that. Like, I could imagine this with kind of like loose objectives, sending people off, and having to deal with your opposing enemies, or the opposing zombie force, and having it be more of a dynamic or emergent behavior, instead of this kind of very fixed and, again, very black and white gameplay. Now, what we're seeing right here is definitely kind of like the highlight of the play, and even then, not much is really happening. And like, they show like these zombie nests and things like that, but again, it's just, once you have a high quality gun, you and all the remaining humans just survive. Another really big point is that this is a game of essentially a negative feedback loop. If the majority of the human survivors all get armed and get onto the train, there's not much the zombies can really do at that point. But if you take out enough humans, like if it gets down to maybe like 15 to 20 survivors left before they get to the train, you can just sometimes brute force your way and win. And again, once you die, there's no coming back. The zombies get better, the human faction gets weaker. And again, it's one of those games that it feels more like a novelty at the moment than it does something that I want to keep playing. Now, the game hints at there being items and various cosmetics, including additional maps with their own takes on the vehicle. But if the basic core gameplay loop is not hooking me here, I just don't see how those are going to work. So there probably is an audience for this kind of game. Again, it's not as performance taxing as something like Fortnite or PUBG. It has more of a personal feel with less players. And it does, like I say, have all these elements that are working, but it just doesn't feel like something that's going to be able to compete with the other Battle Royale games, especially if they are trying to grow this. Because again, with the crutch of the Battle Royale genre is that if you don't have a player base, you don't have a game, period, no matter what the gameplay is. And like I said, the balance definitely is going to need to be adjusted between the power of the survivors and the undead. But with that said, we're going to wrap things up for this first look. You can pick up Pandemic Express on Early Access, I believe, now. And like I said, it may improve or change over the course of its development. But for right now, unfortunately, this is probably going to be a pass for me. But I would like to still thank developers for giving me a press key to look at this. And if you'd like me to take a look at your game in the future, please don't hesitate to get in touch. But otherwise, come back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Once again, this has been Pandemic Express, and I will see you all next time. If you're looking for a book on design, my first title, 20 Essential Games to Study, is out now. It is available where most books are sold, and it comes in paper, hardcover, or digital copies. This is the perfect book for anyone interested in learning about game design, whether you are a student, enthusiast, or just a fan. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoy things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel linked down below, where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.